This is Victoria Cartagena. I play Renee Montoya on Gotham, and you're listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
Hey, this is Andrew Stewart-Jones. I play Christopher Allen on Gotham, and you are listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
Welcome to Gotham TV Podcast, the podcast about Gotham, the TV series, and the DC Connected Universe. This is episode 17 of Zero Year. I'm one of your hosts, John.
And I'm your other host, Derek. Welcome to any new listeners that have joined us, and welcome to our old favourites that have been listening all the way through.
Absolutely, and still enjoying that intro from Victoria Cartagena and Andrew Stewart-Jones.
Yeah. Pretty cool, isn't it?
Pretty cool. Thanks again. We really appreciate that. So, we are recording here on the 22nd of September, 2014. And this date is finally upon us, but more importantly, it's upon our friends from across the Atlantic in the USA and Canada, where they will get to see firsthand, before Europe, the premiere pilot episode 1 of Gotham, the show that we have been podcasting about since February. And quite honestly, I was slightly sad that I'm not there to experience it with them, but at the same time, I'm absolutely delighted for them, and I'm delighted that it's gotten to this point. It's great news.
Yeah, absolutely. One of our listeners was wondering how we're celebrating September 22nd. So this is how we're doing it. We're having a podcast because that's what we do, and we want to.
I'm crying into beer.
But we're really looking forward to hearing the feedback from all of our listeners and all the viewers of Gotham and some of the feedback about the show itself. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I mean, in fairness, we not too far behind. Channel 5, who will be airing the show in the UK, and for those people in Ireland that can also get it, they will be airing Gotham from mid-October. Whilst there's still no date, we at least know it's somewhere around the 15th of October.
Yeah, somewhere that week, hopefully. Yep. So we will know very, very soon. But want to do our podcast as normal every 2 weeks. The last time you heard us was, I think, the roundtable discussion with some of the other podcasts. We'll talk about that in a little while. And I know, obviously, our Victoria Cartagena and Andrew Stewart-Jones interview. If you haven't heard those yet, you can pick them up on our podcast feed.
Absolutely, but essentially to all Gothamites in North America, we hope you enjoy your premiere parties for those people that are having them. We've seen a few little snippets of information coming from the likes of Nerdist and other sort of websites, magazines about sort of what you can do, Batarang, nachos, all this kind of thing. I kind of think bat wings would be a good one.
Absolutely, I like that.
But of course made with chicken.
We might have to start a new segment, John. What do you think? A little cooking segment.
I think we might have to, actually. It could involve the dinner Batman theme.
Love it. That could be pretty good. Vote on a postcard. No, what recipes you want? Send an old email into us.
Yeah, exactly. It will be Gotham Yorkshire puddings and roast beef.
No, that could be good. That could be good too. Anything that gives me food, obviously, is great. I think we'll start our show like we do every other show.
Absolutely,
with the news. Okay, so our first item of news is really about our show, about Gotham TV Podcast, and what you can expect from it. Here's a little question that we keep getting asked from all over the place, because we've been very active since we had our first show back in March. Really just keep being asked when our first review of episode 1 is going to be coming up.
So here's the question from our friends over at Gotham Addicts.
Here's my question to you both. There isn't a date set for Gotham to air in Ireland or England. And you guys are just so invested and so super pumped about Gotham premiering, and you've got to wait. Like, how hard has that got to be for you guys?
So at the time, we answered them that, usually a show will be broadcast very close to the time when it's broadcast in the States, particularly a show as big as this.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened for Game of Thrones. It's happened for Arrow. It's probably likely to happen with The Flash as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were expecting that it would very close to the US and Canadian air date. It's airing very close in the sense that it's only maybe 2 to 3 weeks difference, but it's not the next day, which is, I suppose, one of the points that we would like to make.
Yeah, so obviously the only legal way we can see the show over here is on Channel 5. This is a show about cops. We don't want to break the law, We'll have Harvey Bullock chasing us down,
We heard exactly what Montoya and Alan would do to us if we were in the interview room, so there's no way. And in any case, we are absolutely 100% against piracy and illegal downloading. Yeah. So our schedule will mirror the UK and Ireland air date of Channel 5's, which at this moment in time is mid-October.
Yeah, so absolutely. So you can come back and join us in a couple of weeks' time. We won't be far behind, and we'll be doing our review episodes weekly from then on. Just to give so people who don't know the way the scheduling works normally over here, we've mentioned it a little bit before, but just want to make sure we have it all in one place for you. There's not generally that many breaks in Europe. With a TV show, they generally will broadcast every episode each week. Maybe a Christmas break here, or a New Year's break, but generally there won't be a gap of 4 or 5 weeks between episodes. So I say most likely the reason why they're starting broadcast a little bit later over here is so that they can air more episodes back to back. So we'll probably catch up at some point, but we don't know that for sure. But we will probably catch up at some point. We'll probably be very close to the same kind of
exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. But then in other news, we still are getting tons of interviews from the cast creators of Gotham.
There's just tons out there, isn't there? Like I've spent most of my days at lunchtime reading new interviews with everybody. So.
Yeah, loads. But this one that we've got is from the show creator Bruno Heller. He did an interview there with Digital Spy, which caught our eye.
Mm-hmm.
And he discusses the possibility of DC Universe crossovers, and that is certainly something that we have discussed previously on our own show, and also with Assembly of Geeks that we'll talk about in a moment. But Bruno Heller kind of made the point that we will see as we roll on that the precise tone of the show Gotham is going to be important, and that establishing that within the series is going to be crucial. He also then went to point out that you have to see what other shows that live in the same universe to see what they are doing, and would it be weird or good if they met up. It's fun for the audience to see that clash, and certainly for me personally, it was really good fun discussing the possibilities that you could have in a crossover between, say, Gotham and Arrow, or The Flash, or iZombie even. Who knows? A lot of them involve a lot of cops, to be honest, and that it's fun for the audience to see that hookup and that clash, but it seems as though he's saying that for a producer, an editor, writers, that this is actually quite a scary prospect of having to intermingle these different story arcs and maybe even timelines to some extent. But he does then go on to say that he hopes that we do have this crossover, that it's a really good and beautiful thing about being inside the DC universe, that you can utilize a number of different characters. But he still says that we need to wait and see what pops up and maybe what doesn't. But I think the great thing here is that such a prospect or idea of a crossover with another DC show is not out of the realms of possibility. Yeah. And this is coming from head honcho Bruno Heller himself. So that's a really kind of juicy and exciting prospect for everyone to sort of think about, get their teeth stuck into before, during, and after this Gotham premiere. That the number of possibilities you could allow yourself to dream or think up about these crossovers will be really exciting. So we just have to hope and maybe wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that he's saying, look, we're going to make sure this show is the best it possibly can be before we think of doing crossovers, before we work out which character can come over from Constantine or which character can come over from other ones, or even some unannounced future Fox TV shows. It's quite interesting, but exciting anyway. He's not taking away the excitement.
But one of the great things anyway is you think of iZombie, that's in the coroner's office, cops. Gotham City Police Department, cops, detectives. Arrow, some of the main protagonists are with Starling City Police Department, cops. The Flash, Barry Allen, forensic scientist with
cops. Yay.
With cops, with Central City Police Department. Yeah. Again, with cops, with detectives. There is a huge common thread running between these DC TV properties, and that is the police department, detectives, homicide units, you name it. And that would be an interesting sort of link into that whole crossover territory, possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about it. I think we talked about this before. We've already seen our first crossover, which is TJ Scott, who's directed 2 episodes of Gotham, which is episode 4 and 6, I think. He's gone off to direct a couple episodes of Constantine now, so he's the first member of the Gotham team to do a crossover, which is pretty cool.
Exactly. And Constantine, how could I forget Constantine? One of the shows I'm really excited about as well. Can't believe I just forgot about them, but I suppose that is detective work and investigations of a very different kind in terms of the supernatural. So you could have that crossover. We talked about the whole Jim Corrigan element. You could argue elements of the Spectre as well, all could feed into a supernatural element, and that would be pretty good as well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's loads of possibilities. We've said it before. I like the tone they're going with for Gotham so far. I love the mobster vibe. I love the mobsters and gangsters and police and criminals within one city. I love that idea. Definitely going to see much more of a city vibe than you've seen on Arrow and you're going to see on Flash. This feels like it's going to be much more of a rounded city with tons of characters that they can use within that city. So whether they're going to do crossovers with other shows, we'll wait and see to find out. But they've definitely got enough in there for Gotham itself as a show. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. And the build up to the premiere of Gotham, obviously, there's also been a ton of videos, ton more videos and ton more snippets of the premiere again. Lots more character videos. Yeah,
that there has.
Lots more character videos. Some really, really interesting ones. The expansion of the There Will Be Light, which we used to use before we got our new intro as our intro for the show. It's an expansion for that piece. There's a piece about Jim Gordon, a piece about Harvey Bullock, a piece about Barbara Keane.
Yeah, which was really good because that whole character, you've seen her in the trailer, the main sort of long trailer that was released there back in April.
Mm-hmm.
This was good, just seeing a bit more about that, a bit more with Victoria Cartagena as Renee Montoya being teased out. That whole element, really interesting to hear about. Again, it expanded on those scenes, so you got much more of the dialogue from that scene. So it gave you a bit more of a flavour of how that scene will play out.
The Barbara Keane and Renee Montoya scene.
Yeah, that scene, but also There Will Be Light scene. There was the other scene between Fish Mooney and Oswald Cobblepot down the alleyway that then went into the club where she meets Harvey Bullock and Jim Gordon. And again, it was all simply just, it looked like direct snippets or edits from the show.
Absolutely.
Where you had the dialogue going in its natural rhythms as they acted it and as it was edited together.
Yeah.
And they gave a very different feel to the show than obviously having a 2-minute trailer where it is multiple edits going through it, obviously with a fairly stirring soundtrack in the background, maybe intercut with interviews with cast or crew. So it was a very different feel. Certainly the ones where it just essentially extended and expanded out a particular scene or scenes, and you just had the full 1-on-1, 2-on-1, whatever dialogue from that scene
Yeah.
of the characters, which
Yeah.
was really interesting.
This was released, I think, last Thursday. It was 6 individual spots that were released last Thursday, and definitely they're not worried about spoilers right now because it's so close to the launch of Gotham in the US. So I think we've seen quite a lot of the show there within those 6 pieces, which are about 2 minutes apiece.
Big time. I mean, it really, I think, says a lot about what we're going to see in the premiere and the pilot episode.
Yeah. So don't worry about spoiling us, guys. If you've seen the episodes and want to share your feedback on it, send on the feedback to us at our email address, feedback@GothamTVPodcast.com.
Absolutely. And I think hot on the heels of the series premiere on the 22nd of September from Gotham, a number of these great characters are going to be heading to New York City, where we will get to see a number of the cast and the crew and the producers at New York Comic Con on Sunday, the 12th of October. There's going to be a special video presentation and a question and answer session all around Gotham in New York on October the 12th.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be really exciting. We are going to be at New York Comic Con. I can't wait for that, and we will certainly be looking to get into that video presentation and Q&A to see how that will look.
The panel itself takes place about 1 p.m. on Sunday afternoon, so I suppose we're going to be queuing from the previous Wednesday, is it, to get into the panel? Yeah, I think it's from Wednesday, the week before. We're going to be queuing to get into the panel. So say hi. If you see us there, say hi. The 2 Irish and English sounding guys in the background going, can we ask you a question?
We'll need mixers for gin and whiskey, I think.
Yes, definitely.
Isn't that right? Yeah.
Definitely. So if you're going to New York Comic Con, say hi. If you're
Maybe bail, because I'm sure street drinking's legal.
Bail?
From
A Christian
the
bail?
place. No.
Oh, sorry, money for bail.
No, bail, money bail.
I see,
Not Christian bail.
Gotcha. If you are going to New York Comic Con, come over and say hi. We'll hopefully get to meet some of our listeners and some of our friends on Twitter, and hopefully get a good Q&A session with the crew and team. They haven't described exactly what the video presentation is. The panel itself is about an hour long, so hopefully it'll be an episode we haven't seen. Plus a Q&A session, which would be pretty awesome. But yeah, we're really looking forward to it. We'll be in New York covering the whole event over the course of that full super week right the way into New York Comic Con. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
A couple other pieces that we wanted to talk about here. I think the last episode you guys would have heard was our roundtable discussion with 2 of the newer podcasts, Legends of Gotham and Before the Bat.
Yeah.
Who'll be kicking off their coverage of Gotham. Really enjoyable.
It was a really good podcast. You'll probably have either seen me or heard me coughing and spluttering. I was full of cold. Yeah. It was 1:30 in the morning. We were actually time travelers in that instance. We were in Sunday, whereas Legends of Gotham and Before the Bat were in Saturday. Mm-hmm. And I was full of cold. I was heavily medicated on paracetamol.
Just paracetamol, not that heavily medicated. Hold on.
Yeah, no, but it certainly. I ended up coughing and spluttering through some parts of that podcast, so apologies for that. And I forgot to mute the microphone.
We didn't catch the mute button as often as we should have, so we want to say apologies for that. But you can see the video for that up on YouTube and the roundtable discussion. We've got it tagged in there. It was really good fun.
Yeah, like if you want to see me hacking up a lung and a great podcast and roundtable hosted by Legends of Gotham, which was really nice of them. Then go on to YouTube and you can watch the live stream of that podcast roundtable there, or you can alternatively check out the roundtable podcast audio.
Episode 16, we also had the really good pleasure to speak to the Assembly of Geek, who invited us on to talk about Gotham in the run up to the show. We were just talking to them there last week, so they released their podcast and gave us the opportunity to talk to some of their listeners about what our hopes for Gotham. Assembly of Geek, they've had a number of discussions about Gotham. They're big Batman fans, I know that. And I know they've had a number of discussions about the show and about, I suppose, their excitement and trepidation for the show. So we were kind of able to allay some of their fears and kind of talk through some of the pieces that we're excited about. So it was really good.
Yeah, it was really good. And thanks again. That was a superb little discussion that we had with the guys and gals from Assembly of Geek.
Yeah, we'll put the link to their show in our show notes on our website, so you can click through to that and have a listen if you're interested. It was good fun. They had another discussion about Big Bang Theory. I think was part of their show before we came on. The laughter track was a bit fun. Yeah, that was a bit fun to have the laughter track underneath us. I've never had a laughter track before, so that was quite interesting.
Well, absolutely. I mean, can't say I've ever been funny before. No, I still didn't get a laugh track though.
Did you not get a laugh track?
I don't think so. I'll have to listen again just to be sure. But I'm just not funny.
No, yours is a dry wit. No.
I can hide my tears.
Tears of a clown, I think.
Yes. Joker Watch. In other DC connected news, and again coming back to New York City Comic Con, there will be a number of other DC features that will take place over the course of the 4 days. Stephen Amell will be there for, I think, 3 of the 4 days, representing Arrow, which should be good fun. But there's no real indication of his role for that event. I suspect he might be hosting a few panels. I'm not entirely sure. That's my suspicion, anyway.
Yeah, there's been no panel at all announced for Arrow. No panel announced for Flash. There is a Warner Brothers screenings panel, but they're not taking part in that as far as we're aware yet. But the panels were only released last week, so...
So there's still time for more to come on board.
Yeah.
But there will...
Maybe he'll do a crossover with the Gotham panel.
Maybe.
Or a crossbow at the Gotham panel, depending.
Maybe he will get arrested by Harvey Bullock and Jim Gordon for actually being a vigilante.
Possibly. That's very, very possible.
They will do the work of the Starling City Police Department.
He works very well with them, though. Yeah.
He does, but not at the start. Yeah, in fairness. Yeah. By season 2.
Right.
Yeah. But some other DC features, which will include Constantine coming back, again with a special presentation and Q&A session. There's also a rake of different DC entertainment and DC comic panels coming to the Comic-Con in New York as well.
That's tons. We'll be at a bunch of panels that are there anyway. Filling up our time, I think it's going to be pretty easy to do, to be honest. We'll be talking about all the DC pieces and all the obviously the connected stuff in our next podcast, and talking through any of the stuff that we see that could be of interest to all of you listeners out there.
Yeah, I mean, like, some of them will include, again, more panels about the legacy of Batman during his 75th anniversary, his importance as a cultural icon, and his lasting kind of legacy, and maybe what's for the future, which of course Gotham fulfills part of that. And then also be looking at sort of Batman Gotham Rising, which we had discussed previously. So there will be comic book artist Ben Templesmith. There will also be 2 of the big current writer and artists on the New 52 with Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. So there will be some really interesting sort of comic elements to New York Comic Con, but also then the whole issue around, and then the whole aspect surrounding Batman's 75th anniversary as well.
Yeah, we're delighted to be going, as you can probably tell, and we're really looking forward to it. So we will give you all our news and all the stuff that we've found out over there. Excellent. We'll get on to some feedback.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Elizabeth, who's been in contact with us in the past, she's in our hat for our competition already, but she was in contact with us over the weekend, just asking a question that she wanted to put out to us and put out to our listeners, which we'll do. So essentially what she said is, who do you think will appear on Gotham who is yet to be announced?
Great question.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? She said herself that she wants to wait to get the tone after a few episodes. But if any other listeners want to send in your own suggestions, please do so. You can email us at our new feedback email address, which is feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com. That'll be a bit easier to get in contact with us that way, and it's a much more memorable email address. So it's feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com. While Elizabeth does want to wait for a couple episodes to get the full tone of the show, she does say that she's...
Like Bruno Heller on crossovers.
Yeah. She does say that she'd be really interested to see the character Holiday appear. That's Holiday. Appear in the show. So this character did play a huge role in 2 huge comic book series, and definitely my favourite, which is The Long Halloween. Absolutely love that.
And then the sequel to that, Dark Victory.
Yeah, which I'm actually rereading at the moment. We're not going to spoil why this character is a major character in those books. Go read them; they're really, really interesting. But if you haven't read the books, what we will say is that it's a very good possibility he may appear in the Gotham TV show. It's really, really interesting. The guys over at the Comic Book Time Machine did a spot on their favorite comic books, favorite Batman comic books quite recently, and Long Halloween came out as one of the recommendations. I think it was Daniel that chose it as his. But yeah, go over and listen to that podcast. That's really good. It only came out last week. Really good podcast with some really good choices in there, and they chose Gotham Central, obviously as one of their favorite comic book series, which we've covered in the past. Is there any characters from that you'd like to see crop up in the show that haven't been announced yet?
Jim Corrigan, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yes, without a doubt.
And say that, Jim Corrigan.
Yeah, excellent. For me, it's one that I'd actually written it up for a roundtable and never got to say it as one of the things that I wanted to appear on Gotham, hopefully in the future. The series The Court of Owls is one of the new 52 series covering Batman. One of the pieces about it is that there's this group that lies in the background of Gotham controlling things. Way before Bruce Wayne's time, like a long time in the past of the Wayne family history. It's something that I'd love to see brought in. They absolutely could appear. There's no damage to having them appear in the background controlling things as a kind of a master, an overarching puppeteer in the background. No problems with them appearing in the show. No challenges. It's only something that Batman discovers in his time in the city, but there's no reason why they couldn't appear in Gotham. I think it'd be really interesting to see that.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good, not excellent suggestion.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it ties into what's going on in the New 52 at the moment, but there is that whole longevity, that history back to even before Bruce and before his parents, back down to Thomas Wayne's parents, which could prove to be a really important look at a really insidious type of evil within the city. And of course, one of the other things I just kind of wanted to say is that when people ask me to give one thing, I tend to say 2 or 3. And unfortunately, I do have, it's kind of a slightly different look on Elizabeth's question about who you think will appear on Gotham. And again, this links to our roundtable. The person in one form is currently in Gotham, and that is Renee Montoya. But we do know that in DC, she becomes the Question. And I think that could be a really interesting idea, that a cop within the Gotham Police Department maybe gets sick to death of the red tape, wants to fight it themselves. I think it links into what was hinted at in the magazines that we've discussed, Sci-Fi Now and SFX, that they may look and explore elements of vigilantism that could have happened before Batman or like Batman, and maybe the Question is one of those. I think that would mean there would have to be a focus on the Renee Montoya and Crispus Allen relationship at some point, and I'm not even suggesting that this is a season 1 event or anything like that, but I think given that those two people, Renee Montoya, Crispus Allen, are in the show as reoccurring members, given there was this discussion about looking at aspects of vigilantism in Gotham before the Batman, I think the Question could be a really good way of linking those two elements.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the Question is my answer.
What's the question?
In a nutshell.
Yep, excellent. So as the premiere is now premiered in the US, we did say that we were going to be doing our giveaway for the Matthew J. Fletcher poster of
the Penguin.
Of the Penguin, yeah. We've been running this competition for the last couple of months for any of our existing listeners who all we were asking for was some feedback from you, in order to be put into a hat, which we have on our table right here, as to who's going to win our Penguin poster.
Exactly. And so far then, and thank you so much to everyone who has come in with feedback, with reviews, with comments on Facebook, Twitter, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Been really, really great to be a part of that community and so on.
Yeah.
And so, in terms of individuals, we have Dan Miles, Chris Jones, Daniel Butcher, Doug Green, Elizabeth Deavy, Irene Ryan, Blake Riley, Ben Avery, Julia Morgan, and Sean Lunn, all going into the hat. And then we got a review off another podcast, Pod on Pod, which reviews podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought we had said anyone leaving a review on iTunes, because it's such a great way of having the podcast sort of visible within iTunes and for people to search and download and listen to our podcast, that we decided, well, why not let's put the two hosts of Pod on Pod in there, and that's Josh and Joel of Pod on Pod.
Mm-hmm.
We hope you guys are still listening and still enjoying it, our podcast. So we've put them in as well. So with that in mind, live on air.
Exciting, isn't it?
Okay, we have a hat filled with names.
Shake.
Give it a shake.
People can hear us.
Okay. We have PricewaterhouseCoopers in the room. They delivered
I don't know whether
these little scraps of paper in sealed envelopes. No, we are doing this absolutely fairly. So I shall open up the hat, and Derek shall rummage around and pick a name.
Mm-hmm.
So,
nice. And the winner is Doug Green.
congratulations, Doug Green. Thank you very much for your comment that we discussed. Thank you so much. We will get in touch with you to find out where we can deliver or post, I should say, the...
Yeah, we're not coming to your house.
No, we're not coming to your house. How we can get this item, this signed piece of artwork and this poster to you. But we really want to thank you for leaving us a comment in this build up to the premiere.
And listening, because I know actually Doug was in contact with us yesterday asking how much beer we were going to drink for the premiere. It just popped into my head there. It was actually Doug that contacted us the other day. So we'll get the poster out to you. Hopefully, we'll get some more stuff at New York Comic Con that we can give away in future. That's our year zero giveaway over for the moment. But you never know, we might be able to pick up something at New York Comic Con for a future giveaway in another episode.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for feedback, comments that we've discussed on air. Congratulations, Doug. We hope you enjoy the poster, the signed poster, and we hope to get that to you as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Well done, Doug. As John said, thanks for all the feedback. Send your emails to feedback at Gotham TV Podcast if you have any further feedback for us.
So on that point, thank you for listening, and we will be back next time with our podcast of New York Comic Con.
From New York. If we can get all the technical stuff to work, all right, I will say
and
that.
through customs.
If we get our mic over and everything to work perfectly, we will have a podcast out while we're over in New York, which would be awesome.
If our Esther allows us to.
It does, yeah, it does. We're okay. Yeah. We're okay. All right, and if you don't fancy emailing us, you can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Gotham TV Podcast. And catch us on there. Please go on to iTunes and leave us a review. It'll allow people to find our episodes as they come up.
Absolutely. You can also contact us directly through GothamTVPodcast.com. There's a comment section under each post. And of course, like Twitter or Facebook, our handle on Google+, Tumblr and Flickr is Gotham TV Podcast.
Yeah, you should be getting a bunch of photographs, hopefully, at New York Comic Con that will be popping up on Tumblr and Instagram and on our Facebook page and Twitter. So you'll
exactly.
see tons of photographs now, because that's something that we haven't done much in the past, but you'll see a bunch of them up there.
Yeah. Thanks again for listening. It's been a pleasure. We hope everyone enjoys the Gotham premiere over in the US and Canada.
Mm-hmm. And join us again for our New York Comic Con coverage in 2 weeks' time. Brilliant. Thanks.
Gotham TV Podcast. Do not cross Alan and Montoya.
My second question to the answer.
No. The second question to the answer. Nice. Yeah. I like it. One thing that Elizabeth does say, she said, as I said,